you work with Jimmy Page. This is like Led Zeppelin Jimmy Page, one of the great guitar gods. So this is for the
Covered that page. Yeah.
Coverdale Page album. And you have a few funny stories about this period in time.
Well,
Is
a
that
couple.
correct?
Actually, the funny thing is, Joel, I got called up by, I think I mentioned my friend Jim Service, who was on the crew with, and Jim has gone on to be the tech for Joe Perry from Aerosmith, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick, Jimmy Page for quite a long time, and whole and then Slash, from Guns N' Roses. He's a working dude. So anyway, he was teching for Jimmy Page, and I get this call from him, and he goes, "Do you have a sampler handy?" And I went, "Yeah, of course I have a sampler handy." And can you come down to Little Mountain with it? And I went, "Okay." It goes, "Yeah, because Jimmy's here, and he wants to do some sampling thing." And I went, "Yeah, geez." I barely hung up the phone, and I was out in the car with my sampler under my arm. So the thing was, he had played one acoustic guitar riff that he deemed was perfect. So he wanted me to sample it, and then I spent an entire like 7 hours at the studio just winding the tape back and then manually triggering this sample. And he'd be sitting there smoking some Marlboro lights in the back, and you go, "Oh, I think that one was a little bit early." And I'm hearing Nigel Tufnell in my head, all this, and so wind the back. "Oh, that one was lovely," and "Oh, that one was a little bit late." So flew this thing in like three or four choruses, and it took the entire day. But before that, the funniest thing was, this really made me think of Nigel Tufnell, because walked in, and he had a subsection of his, a subset rather, of his guitar collection set up in a big horseshoe in just outside Studio A. And I went, "Oh, that looks great." He goes, "Oh, do you like the guitars?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm a bit of a guitar player myself. I dabble." And he says, "Would you like to see them?" And I went, "Oh, yes, very, very much, Jimmy Page. I would love to see your collection."
Yeah, you can only refer to him by his full name, Jimmy Page.
So you must have seen in Spinal Tap the scene where Nigel is, "Oh no, don't even touch that one. That one's never been played." Or "Listen to the sustain." "Oh, you go," all that. And it was so much like that, and yet that's a construct in my own mind, because he obviously cares very deeply about his guitar. So anyway, we start going around the horseshoe, and there's and he hands me this acoustic guitar, and he goes, "And this is the acoustic that John Lennon gave me." And I'm sitting there, hands shaking, I don't want to take it. And then this is the double neck, and so that classic double neck Gibson SG, I got to play that, and oh, that's fantastic. And then, so we're going around and around, and then this is a 57 gold top Les Paul. And you know it was just, there must have been like 20 or 25 guitars set up like this, and each one of them was worth more than I had made accumulatively in the last 5 years. And it was a huge thrill. But the funniest thing was, I walked out of the session and went, "That's great, Jimmy Page shared his guitar collection with me. I did a good job. I flew in his parts. We're buddies for life." And so a few days later, I got a call from Jim. "Can you come down and give us an invoice for your session?" So I did. And so in the waiting room outside in the studio, and Jim comes out of the artist lounge, and I like leapt up and shook hands. "Hey, Jim, how are you doing?" And I said, "How's the album going?" He goes, "Well, we've got the guitars are pretty much done. The drums are done. Keyboards are all done and everything. And then and then suddenly he looks at me, he goes, "Pardon me," he goes, "Do I know you?"
I thought we were best
And I
friends,
just, I
Jimmy.
just, "Oh, we're not friends for life. Oh, we're just a little guy like." And then fortunately, Jim Service came over. "Oh, you remember Rob from the set?" "Oh, yes, of course." But the magic was gone, unfortunately. So no, we shan't work together again.
You're still waiting on that call to go
I'm still
back and
waiting for the
work.
call back. That's right.
So
But it was a
you
great session. It was a thrill, absolute thrill to get to work with him, and I've got some pretty good mileage out of that story. That's for sure.
I got to see Robert Plant with Alison Cross at Blues Fest here in Ottawa.
Oh, nice.
It was incredible. Both of them are so talented. And then he played three different Led Zeppelin songs, and you're like, man, you're seeing the actual Led Zeppelin singer singing Led Zeppelin songs live. Unbelievable.
In a much more mature and sophisticated way, I think. So it's
Yeah, and
cool.
you think like he is one of the most incredible voices in rock history. And, he back in the day, he'd hit these unbelievable notes, and you think, can he pull it off now? Man, he hit every note, no problem. Yeah, as good as ever when I saw him.
Well, I don't know if you've seen on YouTube, he does, they did with Jason Bonham, they did Kashmir several years back now in like a reunion thing. And it's mind-blowingly good. Mind-blowingly good. Just, I love it. Anyway, much respect to all those guys who are still out there doing it.